Welcome to Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. Each week, the NI Bullpen will be covering the world of comics, talking to creators, deep diving into some fantastic stories, and much more. Now let's hand it over to the team and turn a page.
What is going on, everyone? It is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you are tuned into Nerd Initiative YouTube. My name is Ken M. You know me as the host of the ODPH podcast, but I'm also Nerd Initiative's comics editor-in-chief. To my right, your left.
Coming at you live and direct, straight from the ODPH studios. My name is Off the Cuff Tom, your pop culture connoisseur, and so I'm going to pass it over here to the dynamic other half of Nerd Initiative's wrestling show. Mr. Rich, tell them who you are.
That's right. I'm Rich. I am the host of Wrestling Night Live here on Nerd Initiative's YouTube channel. Also, 3FN podcast and so much more. And, of course, Ken, go back to the host because we have one more guest.
We have one more guest because obviously if it's Turn a Page, you know we have our pop culture bartender serving up all the knowledge you need to know in the land of comics, movies, and TV. It's our good friend Matt from Hops Geeks News. Matt, what's going on?
What's up, boys? Man, I spent the weekend living vicariously through you and the Nerd Initiative team. Happy to be here to chat some con. Got the serious FOMO. Man, what a weekend.
What a weekend indeed. It has been an absolute amazing time being down at the Javits Center in New York City for New York Comic-Con 2023. 4 days where pop culture was centered around the Big Apple, and there's a lot of news to break down. And if you weren't in attendance, we are going to be talking about our experience down there as press this year and breaking down all the news stories you need to know about because there is so much that happened this weekend. It was absolutely incredible. So let us kick it off with guys, what was the general reaction this weekend as we went down?
Busy.
It was the busiest weekend in the history of New York Comic Con. We did get that from one of the people who does security there. Does their security work. Me and Ken made friendly with him a couple years ago, and we just kind of bump into him in line every year. So he did tell us, I do believe, and these are rough numbers, Thursday was 55,000. Saturday was yes.
Thursday.
Wow. Saturday was 68,000 and Friday was 68,000, sorry, and Saturday was 75,000. Over 250,000 tickets were sold to this year's New York Comic-Con, making it the most successful New York Comic-Con in the history of the event. And for those of us who were there, I'll just say it this way, and I know there was a lot of people talking about it, but it basically felt like Thursday felt like Friday, Friday felt like Saturday, and Saturday was just unreal and literally, I'm just going to say it was insane. The insanity was wild.
It was people's soup. It literally, it wasn't even soup. It was stew. It was that thick.
It definitely was. I mean, Matt, you're watching at home. Obviously, there was a lot of news going on, but the stories that you were hearing coming out of this, I mean, what was your general takeaway from this just overall?
You know, one of my takeaways is I feel like cons as of recent have kind of been taken over and dominated by the movie space. And this felt refreshing because it was just nothing but comic book news. It was announcement after announcement. And there's some really big freaking announcements that came out of this Comic-Con too. And it was just so refreshing because it's like we're back to our roots. We had 75,000 comic book fans in one space, and they didn't miss with the news they announced. They didn't miss with the guests that were there. It was amazing to just sit back and get to watch. And next year, man, I gotta get there next year.
Oh, next year is definitely happening. I mean, I'm just putting the karma out there that maybe, just maybe, a live Turn a Page at the Javits Center could be in fruition.
Ooh.
Just throwing that karma out there because there was just so much news that was going on. And obviously kicking off on Thursday. Tom, what was your big takeaway as we started the weekend?
It's going to be a long weekend. Like I said, just going back to the sheer amount of people that were there was just quite astounding. I mean, here I am 5 days later, and everything's still just a blur. That it's still it's like Jello. Like I'm just still waiting for everything to solidify to get back to normal. Thursday was just, it was nuts. It was just walking in and seeing the lines and seeing the cosplayers and just there was a lot. One of the big things is we did have the opportunity on Thursday to go and tour the Bandai Namco booths, and that was fantastic. All the new product that's coming out from them, all the IPs that they have. I will say, I was a little disappointed. Last year, they did have a great showing for Kamen Rider, and a lot of people who might know me know I'm a huge Power Ranger Kamen Rider Tokusatsu fan. Didn't see so much this year, and I don't know because they were banking on the new Dragon Ball movie or series that's coming out. They were banking on One Piece, so for me, that kind of got shrunken by. They did have one figure, and then also under Bandai was the new Tamashii Nations Godzilla figure, which I something to talk about that later. But that's definitely not my wheelhouse. So yeah.
Rich, how about you? What was your takeaways from Thursday? Actually,
My takeaways from Thursday was it's the normal. When I walk into the Javits for the first time, it's kind of an exciting thing. I mean, this time we had as Tom mentioned, we had a rush to get over to Bandai because we had a 10 a.m. interview with them, which the video will be coming soon to Nerd Initiative YouTube channel, just so you guys know. Because I'm putting that together as currently. It just takes a little bit because obviously there's a lot of people there. It was more people than I anticipated on a Thursday because I was trying to get a lot of the B-reel and stuff like that we needed. And it was awful hard to do because of the amount of people. So that was kind of crazy. And it's always nice to get your bearings. Like Thursday was a good day to get our bearings. We had a real busy week after that, so I was kind of excited to just kind of walk around a little bit. Although with the mass amount of people, even on a Thursday, it kind of got crazy there. But I'm still super stoked and excited for what was to come in that week.
Did you guys get to meet Justin over at Bandai Namco? Is that who did you guys' tour there?
Yep.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they invited me when I went to Emerald City Comic Con out in Seattle this year, and got to tour and hook up with him. He's a great dude. If anybody ever gets to like meet him, coolest dude on earth, greatest tour. Like Bandai Namco, they're even coming out with like Lego type stuff now. So if you're into like building stuff like that, they have a lot of the nano blocks are hot. Like Pokemon, they even had some Star Wars when I toured, so those are pretty hot items right now.
Godzilla too, Rich?
They do have Godzilla. They have Godzilla as well. The Gundam stuff was really cool. They were really showing off the Gundam stuff at the figure booth. And as a matter of fact, we opened the interview just so you guys have a spoiler alert with us all, with Tom and Justin standing in front of a beautiful looking Gundam statue.
Yes, it was the old school RX. Like,
yeah, no, I mean that was a perfect way to kick it off because especially Bandai had such a big presence down there, and no matter where you turn, there's always something for everybody's fandom, and you can't go wrong anywhere you go. Especially Marvel came with a very big monster presence this year, which was no doubt, if you've never been to New York Comic Con before, Marvel does show up and show out. Really going heavy with the Marvel's movie costume push for that movie that's coming out next. It's crazy to already think that Marvel's is happening. And then they also had the big Spider-Man 2 video game push as well, too.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the Spider-Man 2 video game actually got the fire marshals to shut down the line.
Yes.
On Friday, there was so many people blocking the aisleway that the fire marshal came in and shut it down. Not the whole event, just the
can
line.
You blame
for
them?
that.
That game is the footage that's coming out from that game right now. I cannot wait until Thursday. I don't know how I'm waiting until Thursday. It is so hard right now.
I'll just throw it out there. They were also giving away those wonderful book bag bags. Everybody loves those things. If you're giving them away, you're going to be. How I gauge how busy con is, New York Comic Con in particular, is when you go to the Dragon Ball Z table. Like, can you explain? Like, the bags basically are a regular, like, reusable bag, but they have like backpack straps on them. They're a little bigger.
Yeah, they're like the drawstring, basically, or something.
No. There's no drawstring.
Oh,
they're
just
just full open, and they're like Tom. Do that with your hands again. How big are they?
They're about 2 feet wide, probably by about 2.5 feet deep, long.
And they have straps on them like a book bag.
Yeah,
but you can carry stuff.
Okay, I
so
got
it's big
you.
enough like to put your posters, your
Yeah.
cans, your
figures.
Yeah, your figures.
Everything. So every year they give away Dragon Ball Z ones. Free, absolutely free until they run out for the day. They have X amount for each day. So every day we were joking about it when we were there on Thursday, how busy Thursday was, but by 11 a.m., like 11:15, when we were done with our interview and stuff, they were gone already. They already had the sign up that said bags are gone. On Friday, we were there for about literally a half hour, and bags were gone. And Saturday, I don't think the bags were there for more than 15 minutes.
That's crazy.
By the way, and that they usually bring hundreds of them a day. So that's how many people came in and went right there and waited in line. And they were doing that for the PlayStation 2 Spider-Man game as well. And you also got a cool photo op with 2 Spider-Men.
Yes, it was. Like I said, Marvel they always put on amazing things for the fans at their booth. Like I say, no matter what. So if you're looking for photos, you're looking for souvenirs, they always really put on a great show. And that's why, and they've always said too, that New York is their home turf. They like to defend it. They want to make sure that you as the fan are getting your money's worth if you come to the Marvel booth. And you're definitely getting a lot of great things too. I mean, comic-wise, they did have a big weekend, too. They did kick off on Thursday with their Avengers Assemble This Week in Marvel panel. A lot of news happening there, so if you're the Avengers fans, you got a lot to be excited about, especially a brand new series is coming out from Chip Zdarsky and Daniel Acuna, Avengers Twilight, which, I mean, they did kind of do a little more deep dive in a panel on Saturday, which we'll get into a little bit as well. And as for comic-wise, too, DC Comics did make a presence known and announced the return of the Elseworlds imprint. So, Matt, are you familiar with the Elseworlds imprint?
Vaguely. It's not terribly much, I'll be honest with you, but everything that I was kind of looking into after this announcement has me pretty psyched, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm in the bag already, but I'm even more in the bag now.
Yeah. I mean, the one crazy thing about Elseworlds, if anybody's not familiar with it, it is almost a precursor to the Black Label brand that they have out, but it's not as more adult-oriented as the mature readers' books that you get from the Black Label brand. It's more based on you can take a character like Batman and put him in a completely new setting and really have some fun and be very creative with it. And there is some kind of areas where you can have all these amazing DC heroes and really just put them in stages that you never would think about. And it's always great to see how this all plays out.
Wasn't Gotham by Gaslight? No,
I believe so.
Actually, you're right. No, so you are right. I am pretty familiar. Yeah, I totally felt like Gotham by Gaslight, for example, was an Elseworld story, which they're kind of even doing in the movies now too.
Yeah. The one thing about it, as we're fixing it here a little bit, is
try that again.
Yes.
Yes, there we go.
Yes, the audio.
Now I can hear your sexy voice.
Yes.
Yes.
The one thing with the Elseworlds, though, is it was like I say, it's a precursor for Black Label, and one of the greatest books that came out under that Elseworlds banner is Kingdom Come.
Oh yeah.
Which, if you're familiar with the current series done by Mark Waid and Dan Mora, they're dipping into it on World's Finest right now. So just kind of tying that all together, just how the impact that goes, as it is such a precursor into things, it really just elevates of like you can really have some fun, do some stories, and you never know if it's going to turn into an actual part of the timeline of your favorite universe. So I'm super excited. I know they announced a bunch of different books coming out for it, and as they start getting closer, obviously we'll be talking about a Nerd Initiative as well.
Absolutely. But I think personally, one of the biggest pieces of news that we got on Thursday was from a random about 6 p.m. at night. Me and Ken are just kind of finishing up for the day, getting ready to shoot that last, goodbye from New York Comic Con. And all of a sudden there's an image email that comes through to Ken, and he's like, we have to go back to the floor. Ken, what did that email say?
It was the announcement of a brand new company that is going to be producing books for Image Comics, and that is Ghost Machine. So this is an endeavor that is going to be tying in with Jeff Johns, Jason Fabok, and like a little murderer's row of top-notch creators. Like you just go through the list that's on from the panel that was the next day, and Brian Hitch, Lamont McGee, Francis Manipal, Brad Meltzer, Peter Tomasi, Matsuo Zuch. Like I say, you just have this hit list of just top-level creators, and they're all coming together, and just the excitement and the energy that was coming from this booth. This is, I'll kind of spoil the lead a little bit. This was my surprise sleeper hit from New York Comic Con because I had heard a little bit about it, and obviously you're hearing a lot more creator-owned companies are starting up, but leaving that booth after talking with Jason Fabok for a great while, I left there going like, I need to get fully in on this universe, and especially to hear the passion coming out of his voice about this.
I do have to take a moment, though. I want to give a special shout out. Jason Fabok was amazing. It was awesome to talk to him. He was super accommodating. But the woman who was running the table.
Yes.
Who was just a volunteer from New York Comic Con. I wish I got her name. One of the most sweetest human beings I've ever met in my life. They probably moved more stuff because she was literally, oh, do you want a poster, honey? And she would roll it up and put a rubber band on it. She was handing out the ash cans. It was amazing. She was one of the best. And that's why I want to give her a shout out, because she was just phenomenal. She won me over more than anything. I mean, the news was huge. No, it was amazing. That table as a whole, giving out, literally, Jeff Johns signing free autographs at a table.
Yeah. Like, just the passion they had. I mean, Matt, you as a comic reader, and I know you read a ton of stuff, when you see the creators really just give it all out to the fans like that and just be so passionate about the projects they have coming out, what does that entice you as a reader to go check their stuff?
I mean, especially if you're kind of like newer to comics, for example, like for us, yeah, I've been reading a lot. So for me, we're kind of getting back to formula, so to speak. Shout out Norman Osborn. And it's getting back to that, man, the comic books were built on the backs of fans. I mean, they really were. Without, the fans come out and drove. I mean, that's Stan Lee talked about it for years, right? So we're getting so many more companies now that are ran by people like Scott Snyder, who is one of the most popular, best writers in the game. You got Jeff Johns now getting into the game. I mean, shoot, I know a little bit of a spoiler because I know we're going to talk about this, but you even got people like Tom freaking Hardy writing comic books now. And so it's giving back to us, the fans who have been with this for so long, while also opening a door for people to be like, oh, I've heard of this name. Oh, Tom Hardy, I saw him in Venom, or you might have even seen him in just any of the random movies you happen to be in. Like, my grandma knows who that is, so she might be more inclined to pick up a comic book now, and it's more accessible. And that's what really, the personability of it all is what's really going to drive people to it. And to me, that's amazing, because that's what it's all about. That's what comics is about. Just people coming together and sharing stories that they love and their fresh ideas.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's something that you're seeing a lot more happen. There was more announcements about other companies starting up this weekend, but I think that for what Ghost Machine did, just presentation top to bottom, that left me a lasting impression. And I always say it's a great comparison to this, like, stuff you see with Kyle Higgins and the Black Market Narrative team. And you're starting to see a lot of creators start shifting in that direction. And it's awesome to see their excitement, because it just brings us down to such a fan level. Like, for us to go in every single Tuesday and Wednesday to a comic shop and we get to pick up that issue, you're seeing that reignite in some of the most legendary creators going right now. And that is just such a cool moment to see, and really ties into like what we like to see about whenever we go to Comic-Con.
Oh, absolutely. And it was such a great organic moment that I just dug so much, super, super much. Because when we get into Saturday here in a minute, Friday. Wow, I'm time hopping like
again. You said Friday felt like Saturday.
Can I point this out? I'm still not over being home. It was a busy week.
Yes.
So is there anything else we want to touch on Thursday? Because I know we're going to continue talking about Ghost Machine, because it was the first panel that second panel, we went to on Friday.
I'll let Tom go first, but I do have one thing to cap off Thursday.
Okay, absolutely.
Give me a second. I'm going through my notes.
I'll go ahead and I'll say real quick. One thing I'll say is
let's get the home response.
With what I'm seeing just from an outside perspective, not being there, is with a lot of these new creator-owned type companies, it's almost like they have found their passion in comic books again, and getting to tell these interesting ideas that maybe they've been sitting on that maybe they couldn't have, because before, 10 years ago, whatever, you didn't really see a lot of this. So maybe for them, comic books, I'm not saying this for everybody, this might be just a generalization. Maybe they just, all right, cool, I'm writing about Batman again. Okay, I'm writing about this. But now it's like, no, I have a passion again. I have this fire that's reignited inside of me. And now you're starting to see it bleed into pages.
Mm-hmm. I do agree with that too. I mean, that's like one of the best things that we've seen this weekend too. And one thing that I'll just say as well is Thursday, if you ever go for New York Comic Con, Thursday is always a great day, like Rich touched upon, to go get a sense to walk around. Yep. I will also give it a highly recommendation to go get anything you want signed or autographed, because the excitement in Artist Alley that day
It's palpable. You can feel
Buzzing.
it. You can touch it. You can lick it off the page.
Not to mention, let's just be honest, it's going to be the slowest day to go to Artist Alley. And when
yeah.
you're guaranteed that all the creators are going to be there for the most part.
But on top of it, real quick, a lot of your foreign artists and whatnot might not be there yet because they're traveling in. So a lot of them usually come in on Fridays as well.
That's true. That's what I'm saying. Like you have to kind of balance out over the weekend. But like if you're going in order Sunday is usually the slowest day of the con. However, a lot of people try to dip out early if they can, if you will.
Yeah.
So you're going to miss out some there. And as Tom pointed out, some of your international creators might not be in, so you might have to make sure you make a time with them on Friday or Saturday. But for the most part, especially like the not just domestic talent, but I would say the talent in from New York City, they are there Thursday. They are ready to go. And you're going to get your best opportunity to meet a Scott Snyder or a Tynan or a Lee or a, just the list goes on because they were all there. Of course, Jim Lee had his own like gated community. If you
Well, he's Jim Lee. I mean, that's the one thing about it. Like, this is a chance you get to meet any creator that you've grown up reading or even are getting into now. I mean, I've had the opportunity, and I know I'm going to be posting this all on ODPH social media, about meeting so many great creators that I pick up, like one being Geraldo Borges from No One, Thunderbolts coming up, Dick Tracy next year. I cannot speak highly enough about him and his work and the moment just talking to him and just really having that connection too, because he was just amazing.
If I can add on that from an outside perspective, I'm not familiar with his work, but seeing this guy light up and beam when we got to the table, and then to see Mr. Borges as well, just like there was a love, there was some synergy, there was simpatico. Like I was happy just to be in presence.
Yes, like I've said this to him, and I will say this: if you read ODPH Parlay Points or Nerd Initiative reviews, anytime his book comes out, I just think he's just a fantastic artist, and just the way he captures the raw emotion of fight scenes, like you see in No One right now, he is just taking it up to another level. And now that he's going to Thunderbolts with the Hive Mind in December, I believe, like this is going to be something special. And I'm so happy for him and just the things that he gets to do. And I can't stress enough, if you haven't checked this stuff out, go do it. If you're able to buy a print, go get a print. He is just top notch. And stay tuned. He might be swinging through Turn a Page at some point in the future.
The Hive Mind might be as well. But
Yes.
Also, just a quick heads up, shout out to DC Hero Cards. We went and interviewed them on
Yes.
Thursday.
Oh yeah, that was
as
on
well.
Thursday as well. Sorry.
That was
Video
a
to follow.
fantastic video to follow. The young lady who they had, cheers
Brittany.
to them. Brittany, she was fantastic. And I also got to give, just like Rich said at the one booth, cheers to DC Hero for Hero Cards for having Brittany chat with us, because she's a player and a fan first and foremost, and then she happened to be there at the booth. So like, if you're gonna get somebody in the wheelhouse. At certain point, she was actually the #1 player in the world too.
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy they have this card game that's involving NFTs. And
But it's physical.
Yeah, it's physical. Like it's a fascinating concept, and we have the video coming out for it. You'll see it on Nerd Initiative, and you definitely will want to check this out. Like just the emotion she was having about this as a player, and that's the one thing too. It didn't come off as just like a sales talk. It was just really a fan being a fan.
She wasn't a booth babe. I'll be quite honest. She's very, very nice young lady. Do not get me wrong, but she wasn't like the generic. Like, seriously, you need to like check this out. This is gonna be awesome. Seriously.
The ones who just stand up.
She was
Very
on-
knowledgeable.
Yeah, she was very knowledgeable and just a fan. Like
Very
we can't
knowledgeable.
say that enough.
Anyway, Friday.
Yeah, let's go on to Friday.
Let's awkwardly walk into Friday.
We can't talk about the first panel we were at because that's not comic related.
Yep.
But the next panel that we did go to, because obviously we talked about it after the first day, we had to go find out what Ghost Machine really was. And they did an awesome job. They had this. Well, first of all, I got to give a shout out to the person who was hosting. I forgot his name, but he was amazing. He kept going before. He's like, guys, we need to get this out there. This is the big reveal. This has been 2 years in the making. Make sure you're making all the tweets and stuff. And then when he came back and nobody was tweeting, he was like, guys, why aren't you on social media? And we're all like, there's no internet. He was like, why is there no internet? Because there was bad service issues in the Javits as usual. So that's my only complaint I can say for the whole weekend. Unless you're in the quiet room. The quiet room was really nice.
Yes.
But anyways, going back to the actual thing, they had this nice little video. It kind of showed what they were about. Creators creating stuff for, creators where they're going to be all in on it. And they've already kind of started the line with the comic book Geiger. if anybody's read it. But if you haven't, they're starting and really kicking it off. And I showed this graphic. Did not show this graphic, but this graphic coming on the screen in a second is Geiger Ground Zero, which will be coming out in November of 2023. It is the first book in the Unnamed series. So they have 3 different worlds. One's called the Unnamed, one is called Family Odyssey, and then the other is for just the book that stands by itself, Rook. However, there's also books in a horror realm that has yet to be named, other than we have one name of a book that we'll get to later. So in November, we are going to get Geiger Ground Zero 1, and then, of course, it's going to be followed in December by Geiger Ground Zero 2. And if you haven't noticed, that artwork is amazing. I love the neon. The green is amazing. And then in January, we are going to get an oversized issue, and it is right here, and it's what we showed earlier. This is Ghost Machine. This is going to be an introduction to everything that's coming out and coming into the future. Everybody who is working there is going to be in on it. I do believe he said right around 60 pages or better.
Somewhere
or
in that
60
vicinity,
plus pages. So you're going to want to check this out at the very least in January of 2024, because then it's going to kick into high gear as we get the first Geiger, not Ground Zero book coming out in April of 2024. And remember, I mentioned there was something that is not in the Unnamed universe. By the way, the Unnamed universe, what they're doing is taking American history, or actually world history, I should say, and they're adding people into it. And some of them are historical figures. Some of them are not historical figures, but they're making them into, icons. Like, I do believe we were teased the Sasquatch at one point in juncture. We were teased, and we're going to show you another book coming up in a second. And of course, that would be the title of The Red Coat. And The Red Coat is kind of actually, I do not have the graphic for that because they did not have one with a date, but it is coming out in April of 2024 as well. And Red Coat is going to, both me and Ken picked up a copy.
Yep.
It comes out in April, but they had some foil copies for sale, and you could get the signature as well. And Red Coat is about, basically, it's Highlander meets the American Revolution. So without rolling anything, I guess George Washington was a immortal. And there, in this line of history, there was a Redcoat who ended up assassinating George Washington after, America won. And when he assassinated by shooting him in the head, because I guess that's the only way you can kill an immortal, is if you lose their head, just like Highlander, he became immortal. So now it's this immortal gentleman who has lived for 400 plus years, and you go throughout time with him living in through 400 plus years. It sounded amazing. Jeff Johns is the writer. Brian Hitch is your artist. So that's amazing in its own. By the way, Geiger, if you didn't know, Jeff Johns is going to be your writer on Geiger as well. And I do believe Gary Frank is the artist on this.
On Geiger, yes.
And then we're going to kick over to the book that has its own universe, and that, of course, is Rook Exodus. And this book is written. I'm speaking illy. Is written by Jeff Johns, and Jason Fabach is actually going to be doing all the art on this. This is a dystopian world where, think Mad Max, only with people in Mad Max had animal helmets that could help them communicate with that animal and help control that animal in this desolate world. So that's what you got there. And then they'll be kicking off, like I said, the Family Odyssey brand, which is kind of more of a comedy kind of line. And they'll be kicking that off in 2024 at one point after April. And it will be The Rocket Fellers is going to be the first one out. And for this one, we were given the exact description of a family from the future has to go into witness protection. What is the better place to go into witness protection to? To the past. So they move the family to the past. And as the family is in the past, they're going to go through all sorts of stuff that they didn't realize that was around because they're from the future. And they have to try to fit in and get around while still being hunted by whoever is after them. And then just before I pass it off to everybody else, here's a graphic that's going to show pretty much the whole timeline for what's going down with Ghost Machine as they launch. As you can notice here, like I said, Geiger Ground Zero for there. January's got the big book. And then in April, it's the real kickoff with Geiger, Redcoat, and Rook Exodus. And then and beyond that, First Ghost has been announced, the Rocket Fellers, and Soulless, which will be the first in the horror line, from what we understand coming out of Con. Ken, you were here at Ghost Machine with me when all of this went down that I explained very quickly here. Obviously, they went a lot more in depth. What really stuck out to you?
Character first. That was one thing that Jeff Johns was echoing. Jason Fabach was right there with him. You had these creators really getting back to what we as comic book readers like to hear. And that is driving the point home about characters we connect with, we can relate to, we can empathize with, and we want to see win. And that is something that we do see in a lot of books, but when you are that passionate about it, and I know that word kind of echoes a lot when we talk about Ghost Machine, to see the creators like on the level of Jeff Johns get that excited and that amped up and really drive home the point that they wanted to really bring it back to when they were growing up as kids and really give readers something to sink their teeth into and become just immersed in this universe. That's what stood out to me. And they no matter what creator was talking about their book, it came back to character first. And that's one thing that really stood out to me. And as somebody that drives me to go pick up a book, if I really get connected with a character, I am just fully all in about this universe, and I can't wait to get more of it, as time is going on.
Yeah, absolutely. What was the other book that you picked up, by the way? Or do you remember you picked up
Junkyard Joe?
Junkyard Joe. That's another one in the unnamed franchise. They didn't go into too much detail about that because that's not even coming out until later on. So there's a lot of great stuff coming from Ghost Machine because they're just banging out everything. And they have some of the greatest, period creators of all time. And they're also teasing more on the way. As a matter of fact, during that same panel, they teased that there's somebody who has a contract with one of the major companies that is up at the end of the year who is an artist who will be joining Ghost Machine when their contract is up. They've already been working on stuff, but obviously they can't make the jump until after then. They did not tell us who, so maybe I'll go to the chat and say, hey, chat, who do you think it is? Does anybody have any guesses who you think it could be? Once again, artist.
No idea.
Quick question. What is the most important meal of the day?
Breakfast.
So what did we do also Friday morning?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got too excited about Ghost Machine, but we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Let's wrap up Ghost Machine first. Anybody have anything else they want to say about Ghost Machine?
I wasn't there. I just want to talk about that.
No, Ghost Machine is going to be an imprint you definitely want to go check out.
Absolutely. All right, I'll bite. What did we do? What did we do on Friday morning?
We had breakfast.
Where did we have breakfast, Tom?
We had it with Comixology. The wonderful people from Comixology had a little meet and greet breakfast, and oh my God, did I have feelings of inadequacy surrounded by all that talent.
Yeah, it was a good time. Actually, I had a great time at the breakfast. There was a lot of cool stuff. There was a lot of cool people, and they were very accessible. It was very nice.
No, it definitely was. I mean, Comixology Originals is always a fantastic line. If you haven't checked it out on Comixology, you definitely should. And a lot of those books do come to print via Dark Horse Comics. So if you're somebody that's like, well, I don't really do digital comics, yeah, you can pick it up in a print version. And it's something that these stories stand on their own 2 feet.
Absolutely. And some of the books that they highlighted, I know, Ken, you've been a bit fan of some of them. Of course, the first one that they were very much highlighting at the event, and they have highlighted later on at the Comixology panel that they did at New York Comic Con, was a book written by somebody who we hold near and dear, and that, of course, is the legendary Scott Snyder. Mm-hmm. And, of course, debuting. Ken, who's debuting as a writer on this book with Scott Snyder?
His son, Jack Snyder.
And if the book, of course, is called By a Thread. Ken, what is that about for some of the listeners who might have not heard it? I do believe that's out now on Comixology.
It is out now on Comixology, and the story is based around there is a mysterious substance, it's almost symbiotic, that just appears in the U.S., and it's spreading, and it's known as the Shroud. And it winds up covering the Earth, and just in a rapid time period, and everything that you know has changed. And its center is around a gentleman by the name of Joe, and it's surviving in this brand new world. There's a lot of fantasy elements in it. There's a lot of action. There's mystery involved with it. The first issue with Valeria Focaccia's artwork is just mind-blowing on this. So it's one that if you haven't checked out yet, you really need to. It's definitely got a lot of great things involved, and it's one that will hook you immediately from the first read.
Tom, I do believe that one stuck out in particular to you as well as Comixology that morning.
Nice Jewish Boys.
That's right.
That's
do you
right.
want to talk about that a little bit because it's pretty awesome.
There's going to be a new book coming out called Nice Jewish Boys. I do not have my notes with me on who the writer is.
Neil Klein.
Neil Klein. Thank you very much. So Mr. Neil Klein is going to be doing a whole new book. It's kind of like the Jewish Mafia. So I'm looking forward to doing the reviews on that one for Nerd Initiative and ODPH because it's near and dear to me. I actually have family members that made it out during World War II, so it's definitely going to be something I'm looking forward to doing. It looks beautiful. The cover art that we did see was just like, okay, I'm down. Just seriously, just put out a nice spread and I'm good to go.
Yeah, And of course, I'm gonna pick a favorite book as well to talk about real quick, real briefly, and calling up my notes, of course. And that is by somebody who we really enjoy here at the Nerd Initiative slash ODPH, and that of course is Stephanie Phillips.
Yes.
She's got a new book out called Black Site. Now, this is I gotta preface this. The reason why I was so happy about Redcoat, which is one of the things I was very passionate about for Ghost Machine, is the same reason I'm very passionate about Black Site. I'm big into historical like happenings, and Black Site is based loosely on some real grimy stuff the CIA pulled. If you haven't read it, it is basically telling the story about how the United States government through the CIA used to sometimes just drug, but sometimes kidnap and drug unsuspecting people and take them to black sites. And it's about a young woman who this happens to, and like finding and discovering all these things that are not known to be real. And it's just a phenomenal book that's really based in history, and that's kind of like my thing. So I'm super pumped to continue to read that book, just like I'm super pumped for Redcoat. Anything that's historical, I'm big on. Now, mind you, I love my superheroes too. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I'm very excited to check out Black Site as it goes on, and also Redcoat.
Matt, you big into Comixology originals?
I am, and just real quick, like I am 100% with you. History, man, like that
Yeah, man.
is my stuff. I geek out so hard when it comes to like history, and so Redcoat, of course, is a big one for me that I'm going to be checking out, and then Black Site. But I do like Comixology originals, man. I mean, they're great to read because there's stuff that kind of goes under the radar more often than not, but they are just absolute bangers most of the time. Like I don't think I've read anything bad that's come out of them, especially since we've been doing Nerd Initiative, the bullpen, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, they always put amazing stories out no matter what. In fact, the big announcement that came from the breakfast we were at is one of my favorite series is returning for its final season, and that is Chip Zdarsky and Jason Liu's The All-Nighter. So season 3 is going to be dropping on Halloween for issue number 11, technically. And this is going to cap off this fantastic story. If you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend you go on Comixology Originals, go check it out. It's in print form via Dark Horse too. This is one you definitely don't want to miss. There's a lot of different story elements going on with it, and it's very exciting to go check out like the final run for this. So I'm excited. That's going to be kicking off a lot of new books that are going to be coming out on Comixology Originals. And like I can't stress enough, if you haven't checked this label out, make a point to go do it.
Oh, absolutely. I can't stress how great Comixology is. If you have Amazon Prime, you can get Comixology as part of your Amazon Prime. Just so I don't know if that's echoed enough from people. So if you already have Amazon Prime, you can download Comixology, sign into your Prime, and you have Comixology for free. The unlimited version, which means you get all these great originals for free. And even if you have to pay for it, I do believe the service is only like $9 a month. Or whatever, I think $120 a year or something like that. But I'm just saying, most of us have Prime anyway. So if you have Amazon Prime, little dirty secret, hey, take full advantage of your Prime that you're already paying a ton of money for, and check out Comixology, because if you're watching this, obviously Comixology should be right up. And they don't just have the originals; they have other stuff too. So shout outs to them. Thank you for Amazon for having us, and of course, we love staying in touch with all of them. What do you have there on your schedule? I see you have your schedule pulled up, Tom.
I figured it'd just be easier just to go through the day actually by going through the schedules.
Ah, smart man. See, that's not what we all do. We're not all about that. By the way, I just want to point out that during a little personal story here, during the Amazon meet, I told Ken to please get me a bottle of water. And Tom loves me so much that he didn't want me to be thirsty, so he went and grabbed me a bottle of water and brought it back. And I went, Ken, I need another bottle of water. I was trying to direct Ken's attention to who was at the coffee maker, Ken.
Our good friend Scott.
Got you off on the way to the coffee maker.
Alex Segura.
And then that's how you also got introduced to Chip Zdarsky.
Yeah. it is a true media moment that I wish we had on tape, because it was just absolutely crazy to think about. But great conversations. I mean, all their work they've done there, let alone Blood Oath and The Black Ghost. Alex has done an amazing job with Chip, with Jason on The All-Nighter, and Scott's best jacket press line. Like, no matter where you turn, Duck and Cover #2 is out today. And just every single story that they do, the one thing is there's so much creative freedom that they have involved here. It's just amazing to be a part of.
And also for me running into people for my wheelhouse, I ran into Kim Joy. If you don't know, Comixology also has out with her Turtle Bread and I believe How to Bake a Cat. She's also a contestant from the Great British Bake Off. So me as a cook and a guy who like religiously watches the show, that was amazing. And then also fellow YouTuber on here, Ares Quinones also has his first publishing from Variant Comics, also through Comixology as well, which was announced as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like I say, they have just so much great books on that line too coming out, and that was just even the kickoff of the major comic stuff that was happening this weekend too. Because I mean, obviously there's a little more DC news that broke on Friday as well. That Jason Aaron is coming over to Action Comics for a little bit. Joshua Williamson, I believe, is going over there with Bruno Ronaldo from Nightwing. So that's going to be something when it happens as well too. And if you haven't been checking out too the run that's happening right now with Joshua Williamson on the adjectiveless Superman, today at the comic shops, issue number 7. But if you go legacy number, it's issue 850 drops.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Isn't that crazy? By the way, I'm happy for the legacy numbers finally because it was getting confusing when they kept rebooting to number 1. Friday, we had a few other conversations. Of course, Comixology, we talked about them. We not only had breakfast with them, but there was also a panel that day. DC, we had a little more breaking news. Was that the day our friend broke his news about the new Justice League Godzilla book? I do believe it was on the same same panel.
It might have been, yes.
So who is writing that again?
Brian Brusolato, who does Midlife, does No One. Fantastic writer if you haven't checked his stuff out.
Amazing.
I will spare everybody the spoilers because there was spoilers talked about. The book comes out later this month.
No, the book is out right now.
It's out right now.
Came
Okay,
out,
I thought it came out later, but no, it's out now. So go check it out. Without spoiling too much, I will give you 2 points that he pointed out to us that I'm going to take with, and it'll let you figure some things out. First of all, he told us that Toho, they have Godzilla booked like he's Jason Statham or The Rock. So basically, he can't lose. So it's interesting. He tells us, wait till the ending because there's some interest there. So I'm very intrigued by this. And then the other thing that got Tom happy, and I'll share this with everybody, there is a part where we have 5 Lanterns who decide that they are going to form as Voltron to take on Kong and Godzilla. So those are the 2 pieces that I'll share. There was other stuff that he shared with me and Ken that I will not share, but lots of good times. That was not at the panel, though. That was outside the panel.
That was outside the panel. Yeah, that was not.
But he
at the
did
panel.
announce those he did announce the panels. Those 2 items I said.
There's a lot of news that was breaking that weekend.
A lot of news.
So
A lot of news.
Yeah, especially one that definitely hit with us. There's a new book coming out from Image Comics from a certain writer we know from the Massiverse.
Ooh.
And that is one Mr. Ryan Parrott.
Oh, because Kyle doesn't follow us, so we can talk about him. Right?
Yeah.
Ooh, but Kyle's got a new book too. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. But Ryan, it was announced that Ryan is teaming up with Noah Gardner and John Pearson to bring the Infernals. So this is going to be a very interesting book dropping in February about more or less like the legacy of the afterlife. Like there's a lot of elements happening here. This is a book that definitely caught my attention because obviously big fans of Ryan Parrott, and you definitely want to keep this eye out for it when it drops in February.
Absolutely. Good stuff there. Friday, anything else anybody want to talk about on Friday? It was not this comics books related, please.
Well, no, comic book related we can definitely talk about, and that was we actually got a chance to meet with Jacques from Distillery, amongst obviously many, many fantastic things. Matt, you've been checking out anything from Distillery?
I haven't yet. It's on my list just because they're one of the hot brand new items out there that I've announced really recently, and they caught my attention right off the bat. And so that's on my list to do ASAP.
Distillery is definitely making a big play for the rest of the year. Obviously, the Devil's Cut came out earlier this summer and a major, major hit. If you haven't checked that out, you definitely want to. They're making a lot of big moves, and coming out of the pages of the Devil's Cut is Jacques' book, Gone. Yeah. So we got a chance to talk to him a little bit about that. There's an interview going to be dropping on Nerd Initiative for that, and I can't stress when the book comes out at the end of the month, you definitely want to pick it up and add it to your collection. So there was that news going on. Like I say, Marvel is also announcing about the Gang War crossover that's happening as well, too. So if you haven't been checking out Spider-Man lately, there's a lot of good things happening there.
Our guy Dre Driven was very high up on Gang War.
Yes, very, very much so. The TikTok is out right now on ODPH podcast.
If you check that out, he's very high up on it. Exciting stuff, new costumes, everything. There's a lot of great things going on over there. Mm-hmm. I will say, because it's going to tie in, we did end our night to be fair, at the supermassive party that was held at Barcade in New York City. Well, one of the locations of Barcade in New York City.
Yeah.
And it was a good time. You know, we got to go down and we got to chat with Matt Groom for a little bit, which is always a fun time. He is definitely my favorite Australian. Sorry to any other Australian I know. He's just my favorite one. I love you all, but he's my favorite. And you know, Kyle was there, and everybody was there. It was a great time. You know, thanks for having us out. And because I know it's going to get overshined by some of the stuff we talk about in a minute. There was some unfortunate news that broke during a retailer meeting that was going to be announced on Saturday.
Well, we don't need to get into that.
No,
we don't.
we don't want to talk about it.
No, we don't.
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, we don't.
No.
So that being said, I mean, let's get into Saturday though, because I think that's be a lot better to.
Can I sprinkle in the fact that we're going
Yes.
to be getting an awesome interview up on Nerd Initiative that like randomly digivolved into my lap on Friday?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, so there was the Digimon Adventure 02's movies coming out shortly, which is also going to be available on Fathom Events. And the producer was there, and just for the Digigods or the Digimetals or whatever the heck is going on here, they happened to grace me with the opportunity to interview the original producer from Japan of the Digimon, of the first two series of Digimon. And with this finally coming full circle, and hopefully this is going to be the last movie that I'm going to cry over because I love this series so much. It was an absolute and complete honor to be able to speak with this woman and explain how much I love her series and how much it's meant to us and where her thought process is. So that'll be coming out soon on Nerd Initiative. So yeah, like really crazy, like wow, grateful opportunity. So thank you again to Toei. It was thank you again. Just yeah, wow.
Yeah,
Like so wow.
a lot of things to be very, very so wow about. But let's get into Saturday though, because obviously this was the big day of big days. A lot of panels going on, as we talked about. This was going to be the major stuff that was going to be hitting, and obviously kicked off in a big way. 10 a.m. Or 10:30 should be specific. And that was Skybound Entertainment's Energon Universe. Matt, have you been keeping track of what's going on here in the pages?
Oh,
of
man.
The Energon Universe.
Have I? I mean, Transformers, straight off the bat from Daniel Warren Johnson, is in the discussion for me for top 5 comic books of the year. And the fact that we're going to start looping in G.I. Joe and all of these other just amazing IPs that I just have so much nostalgic fondness for. Yo, yeah, we are in for a treat. Like, I'm not an 80s kid, but I feel like almost I was because
What's that
80s
mean?
fans are
What's
eating.
that
I'm
mean?
just
You're
saying,
not
like,
an 80s kid.
G.I. Joe Transformers really came up in the 80s. Being
Are
born
you calling
in
us old?
Hey, I'm just calling you that you got to be there for the good stuff right off the bat. I picked it up on the tail end, and I'm riding your tailcoats.
He's calling us old.
And man, this is sick. It's going to be an amazing universe that I think a lot of people need to be paying more attention to if they are not already.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, guys, you were in attendance for it. What was your takeaways?
I like the fact that they're coming out with this right now, right off the heels of what we saw from the I want to say
movie?
Beast Machines, but the Rise of the Beasts, how they're interplaying with the movie as well. So
Yeah.
it is a perfect time to hit while the iron's hot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this whole universe kicked off out of the pages of Void Rivals. It was kind of the big surprise hit of the summer. And now going into the first issue with Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers, that definitely was one that really stood out. And the panel they had there was definitely excited to be there. You've got the fans talking a little bit, to say the least. Daniel Warren Johnson was not afraid to be the heel of the panel. Obviously, if you've read Transformers, you know the situation going on there. Because there was a major death in the pages of issue 1. So
I don't want to talk about that, I guess.
It's always him. Like, can we pick on somebody else to die in the Transformers world, like just one time, please?
Well, I can't say too much, but I will say that he says he's not coming back.
yes,
That's tough.
And as half the crowd booed him, he said, "I love it. I'm a real heel," and I enjoyed that a lot. So
I mean, who else did you expect from the guy who wrote "Do a Powerbomb"? So
exactly,
This is true.
And that's
This is
why I was
true.
excited about it.
I love it.
By the way, he also guaranteed us a burning hammer somewhere before issue 6.
yes. If anybody does not know, he is a big pro wrestling fan. So we're going to see some crazy action sequences happening here.
They highlighted a clothesline and they highlighted
He's been
Related,
he's been teasing a lot of that kind of
semi
stuff
power
lately.
bomb, I should say. But he has that he did tell us that, and of course, Robert Kirkman said, "Wait a minute, that hasn't hit this thing yet," and he's like, "No, don't worry, I'm going to put it in there for my fans."
Yeah.
So
Dude, I wanna
somewhere
see
in the
Starscream
series,
hit a
we're going to get
spine
a burning
buster
hammer.
on
He doesn't say
somebody.
who and why. He just said we're going to get one. So be on the lookout if you're a wrestling fan for the burning hammer.
So once we get that, we're gonna have a panel of it show up on your guys' show, right?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, we can definitely do it.
I'd love to have him on the show to talk about wrestling.
Synergy.
But yeah, so the other news that we got, of course, big Transformers news is already going on. Void Rivals going on. We'll talk about that in a second. But the biggest news that came out of this, of course, was the announcement of how they are launching G.I. Joe. And they are launching it with a book called Duke. Because I guess in this world, we're starting in a world without G.I. Joe.
Mm-hmm.
This is the origins, so that's why it's not called G.I. Joe. As you can say, their codename G.I. Joe begins in December, because December 27th, the first issue of Duke will drop, following, as you can see, every month thereafter. And this is going to tell the story of the leader of the G.I. Joe and feature some friendly cast that everybody may or may not know. So you can look forward to what's to come from this book. These are some of the characters, but not all of the characters. Trust me, Robert Kirkman was very good at they were not spoiling a lot. They just want us to know that these are the characters that will probably be showing up in book one. But
So if you want a particular character to show up in this new G.I. Joe prequel series, who would it be?
ooh, that's a rough one.
Ken, chat, what do you think?
Man, that's
That's a great question.
What G.I. Joe would you like to show up?
I've got two. So,
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Throw them out there.
I mean, it's obvious for me. I am a Navy vet, so it's got to be my boy Shipwreck from Chula Vista, right down from where I used to be stationed.
Okay.
And then secondly, Leatherneck. I
Oh,
love
okay.
Leatherneck. I loved his character in the old cartoon. I can always remember him, had that gravelly voice. So those are the two for me, just because I want to see how, if you notice in G.I. Joe, now mind you, I'm basing this a lot on the cartoons because I'm not familiar with the comics. Navy did not get a lot of representation.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, we did have the
Right to
largest
wrong.
toy. We had the USS Flag, awesome. But if you look at everybody's original MOSs, we did not have as many Navy guys. So I just want to be represented.
I like that. Yeah,
Yes,
you can be
fair.
represented. I'll go with you. I'm scared to list anybody because it seems like in this world, if you list them off, they're going to die. So we're going to just leave our picks alone. Definitely don't tell them.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's not the exciting part for me. The more exciting part for me, because I'm also a real life heel. Exciting part that dropping at the same time the awesome Duke series will also be Cobra Commander.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been promised by Joshua Williamson that this will be a more of a horror book than
Yep.
anything. Because he wants to dive into why everybody hates Cobra Commander, but still follows Cobra Commander. So he's going to show us why. And this is, mind you, this is a world without Cobra as well. So here's a little bit of the guests that they did share with us that will be showing up, but this is not limited. There will be a lot more. They were very careful in what they told us there. So I trust it because, like I said, the boss was sitting right there. He was not happy if anybody spoke too much.
Right.
He was ready to shoot him down. So that is pretty much the G.I. Joe portion of it. Does anybody else have anything you want to talk about G.I. Joe-wise?
No, G.I. Joe definitely is coming back in a big way. Joshua Williamson doing the dueling books of Duke and Cobra Commander is going to be must-read material when it comes out. They gave away the ash can for Duke #1 at the end of the panel, so there's a lot of stuff to be excited for. So if you're kind of skeptical about going into this new universe, I think they put your fears at ease.
Yeah, the only other things that we had from that panel, and they were big things, of course, is there's a third portion of that, and that's Void Rivals. The last of the beginning arc of Void Rivals #5, is on sale October 25th. Great artwork, as you can see there.
Stunning Quintezon.
It is very, very stunning. And then they announced to us that they will be coming back in March of 2020 with Void Rivals #7. And the reason why they will be taking that break is so everybody can catch up because they're at the same spot. And I did like their talk. They talked very much like how in this world it's not tied to anything, but they were all very highly influenced by the 1986 movie and, of course, the TV show from the 80s as well. So there's an influence there, but it is not tied into it. So
Yes.
I dug all of that because I'm a big fan of that movie as well. So it made me very happy to know that they also were fans of that movie. Now let's switch over because there was two huge panels that went on at the same exact time. But we'll start with the one that has had a little bit of taste to it because it actually technically started 15 minutes before the other panel. And of course, that panel is a panel that I attended in person, and that was Arcbound. So for the folks that don't know, Arcbound is a sci-fi comic book that's coming out, created by Scott Snyder, Frank Thierry, Ryan Smallman, and oh yeah, that guy in the upper left-hand corner of the picture, you might have heard of him a time or two. His name is Tom Hardy, which Tom Hardy was in attendance. Worst kept secret in the history of Comic-Con, because unfortunately they put he was signing at the table before his actual arrival, and I think that kind of hurt the amount of people that were there. Yep. But they did not let us take any video, so I did get a couple photos that are online. We tagged them across everything of Tom Hardy there in person. It was cool. They didn't give too much away. Basically, it's a future world where people are looking for certain resources and such, and sometimes you have to get clever about it, and they're all looking for unity and for safety, and they've been told a big lie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a really cool story. Like I said, they're very tight-lipped for the most part. That's all we really got out of it. But it was really cool. Scott Snyder, it was just an all-star lineup. And it was just funny because Scott Snyder kept making fun of Frank about his Brooklyn accent. Yeah. He said that he wanted to give every character in the comic his accent. Mm-hmm. So they'd just walk around and go, forget about it.
Yeah. You're talking to me.
Yeah, that was basically how they went. But Ken, you went to a pretty big panel. Or I should say a pretty small panel.
Well, I was going to say this was the panel that I said was going to be the panel of the weekend. That was Marvel's next big thing. So if you weren't in attendance for this, you missed a lot. They treated this like a Hall H moment. So you couldn't have your phones out. You couldn't have your computers out. They kept everything in-house. But news has been trickling out about the big event. And I have to say, I was in attendance for it, and they definitely delivered on the hype that we were waiting on. They had multiple creators come up and give a heads up about what is coming to the Marvel Universe in the next calendar year. I mean, obviously, they were kicking off with a lot happening with the fall of the House of X and the rise of the Powers of 10. So this is now going to be ending the Krakoan era that you've been seeing since Jonathan Hickman did the refresh of the universe many years ago. A lot of events are going to be happening here. I know Rich has the credit. All the credit coming up from Marvel is from Marvel Entertainment. And this is going to be the images you're seeing are really going to be setting fans into a blaze because this has been a storyline. And Matt, let me know what you think about the Krakoan era of the X-Men line. And chat, put your thoughts in there too. What has been your biggest takeaway from this? Has this been a win for you? Has this not been a win?
Yeah, it's been interesting because they've done some interesting things. However, for me, I'll be honest with you, like it just never connected for me. I'm very hit or miss on the X-Men in general for some reason. I know most people, when you talk to them, their comic books, like their favorite ones, some of the ones they've always picked up that's always X-Men. For me, I've always just been kind of like lukewarm. I don't know what it is. I really can't explain. They had some good stories here and there, especially on the early going. But I'm interested to see where we're actually going to take, and I might actually get to dive in and see how we wrap up this entire kind of arc that we've had for a long time.
Yeah. Rich, Tom, any thoughts on the X-Men line?
I thought they were going in a great direction, and then they switched leaders, which happens. Mm-hmm. And I think some of that direction was lost, and I think they're trying to go back and fix it. I'm still kind of. I don't want to say upset because that means it's more negative, but I'm not negative about it. But I'm still kind of curious to why Hickman isn't coming back to fix it. It was his direction to begin with. But I get that they're putting him on the Eternal stuff and stuff like that, but I don't know.
I think when the Krakoan era started, for me, again, as an outsider, I was like, wait, what happened? We were in New York. Now we're on an island, a living island. I was really confused, and to see that we're getting away from that and trying to paint ourselves out of a corner, in my opinion, from a lot of the polarizing stuff that I've heard that's happened through the run. I'm interested to see. It might be a nice time for me to finally jump back in and see about those Marvelous Mutants.
Like my take has been, I love the take on it because I like stuff that's different. And for the X-Men at that time period, it'd been basically same old stuff over and over and over. I thought what Hickman did was really an interesting idea with the whole Moira McTaggart's twist to everything, and then one of the more iconic images was Apocalypse coming to Krakoa and saying like, "Hey, I'm all in. Like, this is what my dream has been of uniting mutants against everybody." So the story has definitely gone into a lot of different directions, and obviously this year's Hellfire Gala definitely kicked things off into the new Fall of X storyline that we're in right now. And to see how this is all going to play out, like I'm excited to see how things are going to shape up. There's going to be a lot of series that are going to be coming out that are going to play right into this, and I think that for fans that want to see the end of the story, I think we're going to have a satisfying ending. I will agree. I thought it was kind of odd that Jonathan Hickman came back to Marvel and didn't come back to this. But obviously, he's really tied up doing the new Gods book that's out right now that is really catching a lot of steam. Plus, he's also one of the architects behind the new Ultimates universe that is coming back into play. Obviously, he is connected to the Ultimate Spider-Man book that's coming out. And there was an announcement about that there's going to be 3 spin-off books that are going to be taking place in the new Ultimate Universe. But the one that really caught my eye was Peach Momoko is taking Ultimate X-Men. And when I heard that, I immediately went, what? Like, my eyes got real big. And it's nothing to take away from Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate Black Panther, which is going to be the 2 other books that are coming out with this. But to hear that Peach was coming to Marvel for this book, I really got excited about it. I mean, I don't know how everybody else is feeling about this. Starting with Matt.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. It's I feel like there's gonna be something fresh here, and there's a really good story built in there. And the Ultimate Universe is something that I've been wanting. I've been wanting more of the Ultimate Universe. So for me, I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah. I mean, Tom, I know you're a big Peach Momoko fan. What was your reaction to this?
I love her art, but I have you guys know my hard take on this whole thing about the Ultimate Universe. These guys know because I've said it in chat before. But is this still in the same Ultimate Universe, or is this a new Ultimate Universe?
The way I took it, this is a brand new Ultimates universe.
Okay,
That's the way I took it.
Why did we call this the Ultimate Universe? Why didn't we rename this, rebrand this, bring something in? I'm sorry, that pisses me off. That's just lazy marketing. I'm sorry, Marvel. I love you. You have made an amazing the new mythology. All right, I'm down with it. But you couldn't pick another freaking adjective.
I will say for all of the good that Marvel does, yeah, I would agree with you on that aspect. Is they get real lazy with some of the titling sometimes.
But Tom, they added new.
Yeah.
It's the new.
But it's going to be interesting to see how this all shapes up. I mean, that's the one big thing, because obviously the Ultimates universe is very, as you can tell by Tom's reaction, very polarizing. But it's led to some great heroes, being first and foremost Miles Morales.
Absolutely, I'm down with that. But why can't they just put a different adjective? I mean, Christ, they put Nightcrawler in Spidey's undies and at least call it the Uncanny Spider-Man. You know, they were smart enough. Change one damn adjective. Sorry, I'm going to go on a rant here for a second.
Yeah.
But we do love Peach's
You've already
art.
started.
He's already started, but like I say, there's a lot to be excited about. But I said seeing Peach come over for this is I cannot wait to read this when this book comes out in March. But the Ultimate Universe #1, which is going to kind of kick off this new wave, is set to drop November 1st.
Can I jokingly call this the Ultimate Re-Universe?
Whatever you want to call it, my friend.
It is kind of like a requel.
A little bit of one.
It's a comic book requel. There you go.
But like I say, they had so much going on, and then they even teased about an event that's coming on later in 2024. And
About the Dracula?
No. We're talking about Blood Hunt.
I meant, yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Yes.
Yeah, because we're going to have some vampires. We're going to have some wild stuff happening. The trailer is out right now. If you go to marvel.com, you can definitely check it out. And this looks absolutely insane. I mean, Jed McKay is behind it. Pepe Larraz is on the art. And this just is going to be completely crazy when this all is set to drop next year. And if you were in attendance, you got a very nice souvenir involving this. So, you know, it capped off a great weekend for Marvel. Well, actually, no, I was just say because they had an excellent Women of Marvel panel on Sunday. They had so much going on this weekend that, you know, it's hard to say that they did not win New York Comic Con. Just with all the news they had, the presentation, top to bottom. Like, they always just put on such a show, and they definitely came back in full force this year. It was amazing to see as a fan.
I don't know. I like what Ghost Machine did.
No, like I say, well, Ghost Machine did a lot of great things too.
There was a lot of great moments. I mean, Marvel is going to do what Marvel does, but I mean, I wasn't there, so I didn't know. I was at Arcbound.
Yeah,
so I got to hear Tom Hardy.
As far as comics are concerned, on the whole, for just for the amount of stuff that came out, Marvel absolutely, had the lion's share, as the whole for all of 4 days. And that's not taking away anything from anybody else, from Ghost Machine or Comixology, Scott Snyder. I mean, there was a lot of great news that came out, but just as a info dump, absolutely, Marvel just got all this stuff. And let's be honest, I'm excited, and I will have to drop my wife out here. She's excited for the new Infinity Pause series.
Yes.
I just think it's adorable. I do happen to have a copy of Marvel Meow, and just think, oh my God, this is so cute. And I do have Jeff the Land Shark in my pull list for her. She just doesn't know yet.
Everybody is all about Jeff the Land Shark.
I love Jeff the Land Shark.
Yeah, that's like the new big character over at Marvel, and is just taking over the House of M.
We need a Jeff Poole. That's what's going to happen. He's going to rip the universe in two.
But I'm going to tell you what, I missed my segue. My real segue is, who really won New York Comic Con?
Who really won New York Comic Con?
Nerd Initiative won New York Comic Con.
Yeah, let's go.
There we go.
Night.
Saturday night. And I'm going to put up the Spidey Venom logo there because they are on sale. And the Joker was wearing them. Weird the DC mixed with Marvel there, but the Joker did have a pair on.
You mean, was it an amalgam?
Listen, the Joker was sitting in front of me. That guy's a real clown. I don't know. It's weird. But we had a great panel. John Callaghan Jr. Did an amazing job in making our own Michael look very much like the Joker. If you have not seen the video yet, that is out on Nerd Initiative currently. So please check out the video. It was a pretty good time. We all had a great time. And boy, what a nice man he was. He answered everybody's questions and stayed in the hallway for a while. It was an awesome time. It was a great panel. What did you guys think of the panel?
I was really surprised. Sometimes those panels on that first floor, the offbeat rooms, a lot of people don't realize are there. They're really hit and miss from the years I've gone. Either you're going to have 14 people show up and it's a nice intimate setting, or you're going to have 90 people in this little tiny room. I was really surprised. We had a really great turnout. At least, a good half of the room was filled up there?
Yeah, it was a big room.
More than that.
It was more than that. It was a big room.
I was just enamored in seeing the process and all the great questions from all the fantastic cosplayers that also showed up.
We kept moving back because, we didn't want to be obviously up front, because, take away from somebody else. But we kept moving back. At one point, I think we moved 3 or 4 times before we actually settled on our seats, so we wouldn't be in front of anybody. So, yeah, it was a really nice time. Ken, what did you think about it?
No, I mean, Nerd Initiative definitely came out with John Callaghan. I just really diving into the world of makeup and, for cosplay and movies, and really gave the fans something to remember about, and especially seeing our own Michael Rothman painted up as the Joker.
Look, best ever I've ever seen him in person. I mean,
yeah.
Just beautiful.
Yeah, to see that all play out, it was a great moment, and it said the questions the attendees had really were great, and you can see just how passionate they were about the topic of it, because we always say there's a million things going on for cosplay, and Mayron definitely had their presence felt.
Oh yeah, definitely
through the entire weekend, because I know they were back in the panel as well. There's just a lot to be enjoying about it, and especially for us here, behind the scenes, to see the growth of Nerd Initiative at the conventions now. This is the 3rd panel, I believe, that we've done at shows C2E2.
Did one last year. There was the 4th, because there was one last year at New York Comic Con as well.
Yeah, so to see that growth happen, I mean, that's kind of big. So it's just onward and upward, and it's just very cool to see all play out.
Absolutely, I thought it was a great time. I enjoyed myself, and like I said, we had a good time, and everybody there had a great time. I mean, I don't think anybody left unhappy. Yeah, that's for sure. Everybody, and when we had to leave, we had to dip out to do something. We're gonna, for my own greedy reasons, we're gonna talk about that for a second, because I love spending time with these gentlemen. But we had to go because we had an event to go to. And they were still there taking pictures, and he was talking. He talked to everybody, man. It was great. We, even though we had to leave the room, still a great presence. So next year, if you're at New York Comic Con, I'm sure we'll have another panel at the Nerd Initiative. You definitely have to stop out.
John was a genuinely nice guy, and make sure we give a big old shout out to him. And also, he has an online school. I'll put that possibly in the liner notes at some point, where you can actually learn how to do this beautiful crafting art that he's been doing for so many years.
There's a link to that at nerdinitiative.com.
Thank you very much.
There you go. Just plug everything at once. Plug away, shall we? Does anybody have anything else to talk about at con on Saturday?
No, I mean,
I think we
really
have it
summed
because
it up.
there was just a big news that was great.
I mean, there was some DC comic news that I wasn't in attendance for, but I did hear about that they're actually going back and dipping into the Jason Todd Death in the Family issue and giving like a version that's if he survived. Obviously the 900 number way back in the day where he lost the vote and was killed.
So
75
what if?
votes.
Yeah, kind of something like that. So I mean, they had some news going on too. New Hellblazer series is coming out, so that's something to be very, very excited about. And I mean, just overall as a comic fan, like there was just no matter where you went between like Mad Cave and shout out to them and the Arcbound panel and Marvel and DC and Image too throughout the weekend, Dark Horse, IDW. There was a lot going on that as a reader you can be very excited about as things move forward and just really start planning out for what to go look for at the comic shops moving forward.
And Rich, you also did an amazing job, and I want to kudos to Rich real quick, being my guy in the chair. Saturday, I was able to, luck out and get a great interview with a good old buddy of mine, Brian Volkweis from the Nacelle Company. So we're going to be having the interview up on Nerd Initiative's YouTube coming soon, talking about all the stuff that the Nacelle Company is doing because, I mean, in my book, they can do no wrong. So, I mean, it's just, I love Brian Volkweis. He's an enigmatic personality. He's one of us that just has made it there, but he still remembers being one of us.
Mm-hmm.
Off air note, by the way, he had an amazing amount of stuff from Funko.
Yeah,
we got to see. That's not on the video though.
That's not in the video.
We can't
share
that's our little stuff. But just Funko's got a lot in the way.
So big shout out again in the Nacelle Company. They got so much stuff coming out this year.
Yeah, I can't plug them enough. They were great. It was fun. It was the first time I ever got to meet him, and he was super awesome. It was a great time. We had a good time. It was less of an interview and more of us just
Chill session.
hanging out. So you're going to want to check that out. It was real fun. Lots of information. Lots of information. If you collect toys or if you're in that kind of, that you definitely have to be on board with that. We did do something really fun. We did go to an event before we talk about our closing out. And super tired, but I do want to. I got to take the opportunity to put a picture of these sexy demons on the screen. So these are some sexy demons right here. Of course, what we got invited to was the Japan Society. So I want to first and foremost say thank you to the Japan Society for having us out.
Itadakimasu.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I would like to thank Toho because Toho was also sponsoring this as well. And what they showed us was this. And for anybody who doesn't know, Godzilla 1954. They showed us it in 35 millimeter. So the original cut of the movie. It was phenomenal. It was if you haven't seen the original Godzilla, it's a little longer. It was funnier than I ever remembered. It's been a little bit since I've seen it. And I did like some of the comedy scenes, but it's a lot of fun. So if you ever get an opportunity to see it in 35 millimeter, I would say to go do it. But the more important thing is that we should talk about, because obviously they were so gracious to invite us out, is that they're celebrating 69 years of Godzilla this year with the Godzilla Day celebration always on November the 3rd. So November the 3rd, 2023, Godzilla Day will be taking place. Make sure you keep out your eyes for Toho because they have a lot of stuff coming out. They are not announcing it yet. I will say this as a teaser because we can't say more than this. You're hearing this, if you're hearing it live on October 17th, on October 18th, something is coming your way.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I think, all we're allowed to say about that.
Yep.
And there's going to be information from that and Godzilla Day dropping on the 18th. So if you're hearing this late, you've already heard it. But if you're listening live and you're a Godzilla fan, Toho has allowed us to at least say that tomorrow, October the 18th, there's some huge stuff coming out about Godzilla Day and something else in particular. And if you could read the banner, you might read between the lines.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, did you guys enjoy your time at the Japan Society?
That was an amazing time, yes.
Gorgeous. And to think that there's a tiny theater that's down underneath in the building, the history of the 100 years that they've been trying, influence the Japanese culture in America. I mean, I could go on and on because I like that history kind of stuff. So nobody got to go to my time.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of surprised that they didn't save the Justice League book to come out in Godzilla Day.
No, I mean, it was definitely, it was set to go, like I say.
Well, is that a Wednesday?
I'm not sure what, I didn't look up what November 3rd is. But yeah, it's a great time. So if you ever get a chance.
It's a Friday.
It's a Friday. That's why. But yeah, it's a great time. If you ever get a chance to see Godzilla, the original Godzilla movie in 35 millimeter, go check it out. I know they show it occasionally at places because I know a couple of friends of mine missed it the last time they showed it, not at Japan Society, but somewhere else. It's an amazing watch. It's just beautiful. It's the way it's meant to be seen. If you're into film like that. If you're not, it's just going to look like an older movie on a smaller screen.
There's a certain texture and feel that you can only get in good old 35 black and white that still cannot be replicated to this day.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it really lends itself to it. And my biggest thing to take out of the movie, I love seeing the models get destroyed.
Yes. I know you like the miniatures, yeah.
I love the miniatures, like to see the amount of details they put in. Like, oh, I'm just going, nope. But you can see brickwork, you can see little shelves, you can see all that stuff. That is Japanese detail to its finest, and that's almost 80 years old.
Oh, it was beautiful. And of course the music. Because then you get the music that goes through the rest of the series. So you get to hear where the origins of all the music started. And, of course, the roar that still exists to this day.
Yes.
They still use that exact roar. So it's awesome. So now we're going to get back into comics because, of course, we have to talk about closing it out. There was one last day. There was Sunday. I know that our Tom was very busy that day. Myself and Ken were at the Javits for a little while, but then had to come home, because like everything has to come to an end. But Tom, you had some stuff going on Sunday. What did you? I know you had a conversation with somebody, but I can't remember exactly what your schedule was all day.
So, oh man, what's that guy?
What's his name?
Well, first off, I was pinballing around Artist Alley because I was fortunate enough. I had a lot of covers that still need to get done. And like the guy said earlier, when you're planning your Comic-Con, either Thursday or Sunday for me is always a good time to get signatures because the hype is real, or F it, I want to get home and just...
Yeah.
So I met a lot of great artists. I forgot, didn't tell you, I got 8 Billion Genies signed also.
Oh, damn it.
Blank cover too. But there was this guy, he did some things. We've talked about one of his series on here. He's got 6 books right now in Comixology, and because of that, Ken had something set up, but because of schedules and everything going on, I took one for the team, took it on the chin, and had a chat with Mr. Scott Snyder at the booth after he was done near the end of the show. And wow, what an experience. Not only one, to see this man work, to see how he interacts with the fans, but because it was the end of the show, you got to see all these... Chip Zdarsky came up. Jorge Jimenez came up. The laundry list of just holy crap. Oh yeah, this is such and such, and Scott's going, and this is such and such, and this is such and such. Here I am with my recorder, and it's like, I am keeping this raw file till this is mine.
Yeah.
So I got to interview him. We talked a lot about the Comixology stuff, so that'll be up soon on Nerd Initiative once I get that all transcribed. I also have a personal story that, because Scott is such a wonderful person, it was amazing. There was a young man who got up before me, and this was the story I was trying to tell you before we got on. I didn't realize what time it was. There was a young man who came up at the end of the signing, and he was with his mom, and I think he had this Indiana Jones cosplay on, and wow, what a nice kid. Talking to Scott, and Scott being a dad, he picked up on the vibe, and he's like, oh yeah, da, 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 da. And then the mom was just weepy and said, well, he's a cancer survivor, and Scott Snyder was the kid's Make-A-Wish, and because of COVID, Scott wasn't able to make it out and everything, or Make-A-Wish set nixed it because of COVID. And they finally had a chance to meet in person there. And Scott does this. Book, pen, paper. Right? Grabs a hard copy off of the rack that's at his, double wide booth. Signs it. Oh, hey, look, here's the colorist. Here's the artist. Here's this. They're all here. It's like, sign it, sign it, sign it, sign it. Right? Not only that, but he also gives this young man his personal phone number, his personal email. This kid wants to become a writer. So he's automatically getting enrolled into Scott Snyder's writing course for free, and his mentor going into writing is Scott frickin' Snyder. Right there, I'm having a moment just going, I gotta interview this guy after this. I'm so full of emotion. And it was just so humbling. And I have to say, big shout out to Scott Snyder, because this is the first time I've ever met the guy. I know that Ken has talked to him several times in the past. Wow, this dude gives back to the community in spades. And I'm here, give me the next book and let me run with it.
That's
Amazing.
Why he's my favorite writer out there, man. Right there. That's why he's my idol in comic books. Right there.
Yeah, he's the best. I could sit here and rave about just how gracious he is with his time and talking with fans, and if you go to New York Comic Con and you don't go see him at his booth, like you're not doing con right. Like he is so gracious to everybody he comes in touch with, and that story is just incredible, man.
Yeah, I was just, amazed at it. It's just so heartwarming. The whole weekend I am exhausted. I am tired. And then we know what happened as far as my transportation stuff happened. But to end that the show on such a heartfelt moment that is why I do this, is to be able to be there for those types of moments, not just for my life, but for somebody else's.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Man.
But yeah, interview coming soon at nerdinitiative.com.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, just overall, I mean, what a way to end con with that note, that story, and just having that experience. I mean, all in all, I mean, Matt, I know you weren't in attendance for it. We gave you a lot to break down. Give me your top 3 moments from Comic-Con, the news stories you heard. Like, what are you most excited to follow up with now?
Well, first of all, of course, I am pretty pumped for Ghost Machine. I mean, there's a lot to love there. There's so much history. Again, I'm a history nerd, so to throw in that and it's kind of like fresh original ideas. Arcbound is another one that I'm really excited for. The premise is up my alley. It's something that I'm just really excited for. And then of course, man, Marvel's going to be taking on vampires, and it sounds like an absolutely insane time, which I'm all about the crazy, weird, spooky stuff. So anytime you have those kind of vibes matching up in some stories of things I love, especially in the Marvel universe, that's probably definitely in my top 3. But it's really hard to pick just 3 because it was action packed. This weekend was for the comic book fans, and nobody disappointed. Nobody disappointed. And shout out to Image real quick, who's silently having an insane year because they announced that 12 writers and artists from Marvel and DC are coming to work on their books too.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, that's
kind of crazy.
Maker's brand. Yeah.
Yeah, they're silently having a really good year, and if you've been keeping up, especially in the last month, they do kind of like these mystical horror books really well. So I'm really excited to see how they're going to bring in some of these artists and creators into this, outlandish kind of universe that they have working.
Yeah, no, Image is killing it right now, and especially now, I mean, with Giant Generator, I believe that's the group you're talking about, and that's part of Rick Remender's brand there. Yeah, they're definitely coming back, and kind of in the same vein as Ghost Machine, as we talked about, and even like Distillery to a greater extent. You're seeing just this big shift into going more into the creator-owned element. And I think that was a big theme that I was taking away from the entire Comic-Con weekend.
Agreed.
Same.
So
totally agree. Now I do have one little concern about that in the long run. I'm all for creator owned. Everybody should have their thing, but where does that take us 20, 30 years from now when there's options for licensing and things like that? I mean, I know this could be a heated topic, but this is just something that's in the back of my mind because that's just the way I think.
I think what you're going to have is you're going to have a lot more creators have a lot more say in these independent projects. I think we've seen in the mass media format over the past few years the rise of independent books. I mean, you think about when shows like, Happy was on Sci-Fi and Deadly Class, which was still a travesty to this day. It was canceled. And then you see about like right now with Amazon Prime, and they have the Invincibles series that's coming out. And I mean, they had a great panel talking about, everything going on with Prime too. That you're seeing just this, surgence of creators that are now going to be involved in having that hands-on that, down the road when we talk about 30, 40 years, whatever, when a property comes in, that they're still going to be, involved in it. It's not just going to be, a name on a line, for a streaming show. And I think that that's the big takeaway I'm seeing, and I'm excited to see it. And I want to see a lot of these companies succeed. Like I really do.
That's why I like doing this.
Yeah. I mean, Rich, what was your top 3 takeaways from this weekend?
My top 3, I needed more sleep. I needed more. Oh no, joking.
Yeah.
Top 3. Number 3. It was cool to see like all the fallout from Arcbound. It's always nice when you get to see the floor and the place buzzing, and just the appearance of Tom Hardy made the place buzz a little more that day.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of cool. Especially you don't always get to see those moments, and I got a front row seat to it, kind of in a way. So that was kind of cool. My second, I was a big fan of the Energon Universe panel. I had a great time there, and I don't think I've laughed during a panel as much as I did during that one ever. So that was pretty awesome that they were so entertaining. And I said it before. I think tied for first place because I can't put them over enough. I thought Ghost Machine was so amazing. I thought that just like hearing about it and not knowing that that was going to be a thing, and then it turns into a thing, and you're just sitting there going, "Wow, this is crazy." And as it continued on, it just got better and better. It wasn't like one of those things that like, oh man, that's a cool idea, and I can't believe a legend like Jeff Johns is starting a company pretty much, and all these amazing creators. And then usually, you get past that part, and you're like, okay, that was it. That was the big announcement. But it was like, for some reason, it just kept unfolding and unfolding and unfolding until finally it was just like, what else could they bring out? Like, what else could they actually bring out? And it's just like, so it's so amazing to see what's coming next because we only got the tip of the iceberg. We didn't even get the full picture. I mean, they're talking about more than 10 books in the Unnamed series alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And with crossovers and stuff. And you're just like, this is amazing. Like, it's one of those things that it was cool to be on the ground level for that. And then like tied for first though is of course because being there and personal stuff, man. It was fun. It was always a good time. I mean, I got to hang out. It was a lot of work. All when I was joking about being tired and hungry, but that's true, but it was a lot of work, but I had two of my really good friends there, I'd say two of my best friends there. And then we also had Eric, who I also enjoy, who's a friend of Tom's.
Yeah, my buddy Eric from Ain't It Cool News and some other site. But Ain't It Cool News, you can follow Eric right on there. So shout out to him. He came in a clutch for getting pictures for me and doing some video when these two young men were running around everywhere else. So shout out to him.
Yeah, and so like getting to spend time with my friends and hang out and like once again big shout outs to the Massiverse folks because they put up with us for a long time.
Yeah.
And we're very hospitable. We had we just had a great time, even though it was packed and it was like, sometimes that can lead to like interesting things and you're fighting your way through. But at the end of the day, it was just like at one point in juncture, like peek behind the curtain, I left that on Saturday, I left the Energon panel and literally had to get across, if you know how big New York, if you've been to the Javs, you know how big New York, I had to go from the new building panel rooms all the way over to the river pavilion where the cosplay is for people who aren't in press and stuff, because there's a press room behind that, the river pavilion. So that has to go all the way across the show floor. You can't, there's no way to dodge it. And it was Saturday and it was noon and the show floor was full. And that could lead to a lot of like stress. But man, I got to that other side and I sat down and we had that great interview and it was just like all of it was gone. Yeah. Like in that moment. And, so it's just awesome. So I'm going to say that's a tie because I thought that, as far as what happened at the con, Ghost Machine blew me away by everything. But, listen, I got to take some selfish personal stuff. And it was awesome. It was also awesome to get to meet everybody from Nerd Initiative because I had not met everybody in person. So, I got to meet Michael and Tony in person and Mickey and Yashin and everybody. Like it was amazing. It was such an awesome moment. So I'm not going to forget this year. Like I love every year, but I'm not going to forget this one. This was awesome.
Tom?
For me, I've been fortunate every single year to be able to go to Comic-Con since I started doing all this press stuff and put my opinions out on the internet. I'm going to sneeze right now. I'm trying to hold in because it's live. And every year I've gone, something has one-upped and one-upped and one-upped. Things have gotten greater. The opportunities have unfolded. I don't think I really have a top three. I think just combined, was fortunate enough to get a chance to speak to Scott Snyder. Again, the Digimon experience, being able to talk to the producer, the Star Trek panel, which we didn't even touch about, with Kid Cudi like randomly showing up to Albert was just amazing. And then these two guys got to see a moment. I had a moment on Thursday.
That's true.
A lot of folks know I'm a big, huge Power Ranger fan, and I have a few friends in the Power Ranger alumni. And there was one particular actress that I had not had a chance to meet, and so I go up to my one I do know. I'm like, hey, can you introduce me to such and such? And I go up, and I finally get a chance to speak with her, and she was super duper nice. I'm referencing Catherine Sutherland, who played Kat, Mighty Morphin Pink 2, Ninja Pink Ranger, and Zeo Ranger 1 Pink, and what else? Turbo Pink, and then eventually Mrs. Tommy Oliver in the comics, which is amazing story that you can see in the 30th anniversary issue. And I had a moment. I needed the vapors. It was wonderful. And hopefully we can get her and Nakia on here for Nerd Initiative. I've got that in the works. I've got a few other Ranger alumni in the works. So Nerd Initiative, trust me, I'm bringing all my Ranger powers over here for you.
Well said.
And seeing one of my best friends, Eric, because I love you, man. I really do. Like, where the experience where we were to where we are now, I just really have to shout out. And I don't care if he's not on here. And I send him just a clip in post. I love you, man. And you make New York Comic Con 83% better for me. I love you.
Oh,
and your wife's a saint for dealing with your snoring.
Whoa.
On that note, my top three, very simple. Marvel, I think, one con, next big thing, a lot of stuff to be excited about. The entire presentation, the entire weekend definitely did it. Ghost Machine is at number 2. I think the universe that Jeff Johns, Jason Fabek, and the entire team is putting together is truly going to be something. And if you've never walked into a panel and heard such fantastic creators just be so passionate about driving home the point of taking comics back to where comics need to be, and really having a game plan set up, and really reflecting the sign of the times that we're seeing just such a renaissance of creator-owned books, and something to get a part of on the ground level. I can't speak highly enough about what the presentation we had from them top to bottom. And number 3, just the experience itself. The fact that we get to do this and go down and experience the fandoms with everybody, whether it's anime, whether it's Marvel, DC, Star Wars, whatever you are a fan of, there's something there for everybody, and it's very cool just to see everybody there just celebrating what you love and carrying that energy moving forward. And now is a whole new year as the countdown kicks off for next year. And, if you think this year was going to be something, I think I can safely say for Nerd Initiative, you ain't seen nothing yet. So that being said, Matt, why don't we let the fine people know how to get a hold of you and everything going on with Hops Geeks News?
Yeah, man. Come hang out. Hops Geek News. That's where Lauren and I talk about comic books, movies, TV shows. We feature Beer of the Week. We have some cool guests coming up. Stephanie Phillips has agreed to come on the show. So that's going to be coming down the pipe. But we've had some really great creators come on. Christian Ward's been on recently. I mean, just blessed. And of course, check out tomorrow's new comic book day, where I am going to be reviewing Kill Your Darlings from Image Comics. And a little spoiler alert, this is a haunting fantasy story is the easiest way I can put this, in a beautiful way. So make sure you pick that up, hit up your local comic book shops, and man, Nerd Initiative, this is where it's at.
Absolutely. Rich, why don't you let everybody know where you're at?
If you want to get a hold of me and follow anything, it's 3FN Pod. There's the little QR code down there. Of course, you can find me. Currently, let's break some news. So currently, you can find us every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel for Wrestling Night Live, the show that I host, that Ken co-hosts, and we have a round table of guests and stuff. But we would like to add more guests and stuff, so I'm going to put it this way. The first Thursday of November, the show is moving to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. So it's the only day that has no wrestling, and it's a primetime spot because, more people are available. So I hope more people will join us talking about pro wrestling every week. So I'll make the announcement here. Might as well, So if you're a pro wrestling fan, for the next couple weeks, tune in Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, over right here on the Nerd Initiative YouTube channel. And of course, then in the first Thursday in November and Thursday going forward, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Thursday. So there's that announcement. Of course, if you need to find out anything about Nerd Initiative, go to nerdinitiative.com. I'm so used to plugging that portion of it. And of course, if you want to check out my podcast, I'm not allowed to talk about my podcast currently because, things are going on in the world. But 3FN Podcast. There you go. Tom, you're up.
You can check me out on all social medias. Rich is going to drop that QR code right there. I am currently redoing my link tree, switching everything over, so everything is kind of in flux right now. Either way, I am everywhere you need to see me and be me. You'll see me on the TikToks, on the Tweetverses, the Face, Twitters, and all that other stuff you kids do, the WhatsApps and so on and so forth. But I cannot wait to see the growth. But more importantly, I am here, Nerd Initiative. I am now your pop culture connoisseur.
And for me, Anything and everything that you need is the ODPH. You can find it at odphpodcast.com or click on that QR code. And remember, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on nerdinitiative.com, we have your comic book picks of the week. So if you need to know what to go grab at the comic shops, it's simple. You just click on that QR code starting at 9 a.m. and refresh it every hour on the hour, because we have reviews dropping from the top publishers in the game, and there's a lot of great books to pick up this week. So you definitely want to make sure that DC already kicked off the week with a strong lineup. Comixology has a brand new book out by the one and only Scott Snyder. We'll plug him all day, every day. Duck and Cover #2 is out, and you'll have to wait to see what kicks off at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So you'll definitely like to get it. So boom, there it is.
Make sure you're reading all of those great reviews and sharing them with your friends.
Yes, share.
Share away. And also, while you're at it, we almost forgot this part, and it's an important part. Make sure you hit that subscribe button here on the YouTube channel for Nerd Initiative, and hit that bell icon so you get notified every time Nerd Initiative goes live, especially Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Turn a Page, when next week we're going to be talking about some comic books.
Yeah, we have a special guest coming on next week.
Ooh.
So if you want to see the tease for that, well, you're going to have to follow Nerd Initiative on all social medias and just wait to see the announcement Monday when the graphic comes up. So you definitely want to make sure you hit that subscribe button and you don't miss any minute of the content.
Shameless plug.
That's right. I mean, you got to make sure. And make sure you hit that thumbs up so the bosses know that we're doing a good job.
Yes, indeed.
Big thank you for this very special episode, extended edition. Everybody who stayed with us and watched, we greatly appreciate everybody that did the extra long 90 minutes.
Yes.
It was a jam-packed version, but you couldn't fit all of that into an hour.
This is the Snyder version. This is the
Yes. Yeah, the Snyder cut.
If we do the Snyder cut, I'm drinking and I might be in my PJs, and we just need to have a big round table.
And on that note, you have checked out a very special edition of Turn a Page, the New York Comic Con 2023 recap edition. And we'll end this like how we always do on Turn a Page. When you're at the comic shops and you have a great issue in your hands and you see somebody struggling to find something, hand yours off to them. Tell them turn a page. We'll see you next week.